Hey everyone, Adam here. So in today's video, what we're going to be covering is basically the best ad account structure for Facebook ads, now known as Meta ads here in 2023. So without further ado, let's dive straight into it. So basically what you want to do is break it down typically per country. So if you're selling in multiple countries, you're going to have this entire setup like multiple times essentially. So we're just going to cover this one here to kind of keep it like a bit more simple. But yeah, you basically want to separate out per country to keep things really organized. And so at high level overview, what we're going to have is we're going to have cold traffic. So basically growing the brand, we're going to put most of the budget towards, these campaigns essentially. And for this part here, typically what we recommend is anywhere from like 60 to 70% of the budget. So if you're spending $100 a day, you spend like about 60 to $70 a day on cold traffic. But if you're spending like $1,000 a day, then you'd allocate about like $600 to $700 a day towards cold traffic. And then for warm and hot, you basically want to allocate about 30 to 40% of the budget towards those. So they're going to basically be retargeting everyone who's basically engaged with your Facebook and Instagram page, and then anyone who's actually been to the actual site, essentially. So for those, we want to be around like 30 to 40% of the budget. So let's go ahead and break it down. So in terms of cold traffic, what you're going to have is basically interests and lookalikes. So in terms of interests, I actually have this other doc here. We'll go through that in a second for a bunch of ideas for that. What you're going to have is just different interest categories. Now, if your basically brand is like a bit smaller, and when I say that, like not like doing a couple $1 million a year. So if you're doing like 10, 20, 30, $50,000 a month. There's a famous saying out there, the riches are in the niches. You really want to be a bit more like really hyper targeted, because that's where you're going to get those like really profitable returns, is really niching down and finding those like really profitable interests, and then having your ads and all your messaging be really aligned at those interests. And that's how you get those like really high returns. You can see here on an ad account, I'll show you here in a second. That's basically what we're doing. It's like very niche down and very targeted. And then you can see the numbers that we get, very, very profitable month to date here in December here in 2022. So I'll go through that in a second. But that's basically what you want to do. And then as you get way more data on the account and you start doing, a couple $1 million a year, $5 million a year, you can just go way more broad, because all these platforms, Meta, Google, Pinterest, Snapchat, all these platforms, they're all data platforms. So the more data they have on your target customer, and then way more customers you have, like you can literally just go way more broad. Like for an account that we're managing that does about $15 million a year in revenue, it's basically very broad, to be very honest. Like a majority of our budget's just literally just broad. Like we literally have no targeting. There's no interest, no lookalike. This is just broad. And then we get to scale that just so much more. But the only reason why we can do that is because there's so much data on the customer, and we just let Meta just do the targeting for us, essentially. So, but most of you probably aren't at that point. And if you aren't, then you really want to be going more so with this strategy with interests and lookalikes, and being very targeted with the interests. And then to dive further into that, let me just kind of give you a bit of an example for this, and really just kind of showcase a couple different niches for this. So first one I'm going to show you here is the motorcycle niche. So for this, what you can do, this is basically like a category. So just general niche audiences that are under the motorcycle niche, right? So you have like custom motorcycle accessories, motorcycle club, helmet, racing, sport, motorsport, sport bike, motorcycle mechanic institute, combats, veterans, motorcycle association. Like think about this as like, compared that to like, just motorcycles. Like it's just, if you like this interest on, Facebook and Instagram, like you're a motorcycle owner, you know what I mean? It's just like who really follows like something that niche, right? And another angle you can take is like the brands, right? So you can go BMW, Ducati, Harley Davidson, Kawasaki motorcycles, Suzuki, Yamaha, right? So you can target brands. And when you're first starting out, obviously you don't need to be, launching like 20 ad sets. What you could do is pick one or two from here, right? Just start off, one or two from here. And then what you can do is like, say for instance, Harley Davidson is doing really well, right? Then you can go, okay, well, let's go ahead and start testing out more of these, more brands, right? Because they're under the same category, if that makes sense. Next up is like motorcycle models, right? So there's the bobber, there's the chopper, there's the cruiser, there's the Indian, right? So, there's all these different models that you can do. You could also do celebrities or influencers, right? So it's like Tom Cruise. And for this part here, what I do is that I would actually flex it with the main niche keyword essentially. So I wouldn't just do Tom Cruise. I'd just be a little, it wouldn't line up completely. But if you do Tom Cruise and motorcycle, then it's like, okay, like they like Tom Cruise, but they have to like motorcycles as well. Bear Grylls, Pink, interesting one. Ewan McGregor, Richard Hammond, Brad Pitt. These people all actually ride motorcycles, or from the research that I did, they do. So you could basically do that and just flex them with motorcycles. And there's also motorcycle magazines, right? So it's Easy Riders, Classic, Motorcycles, Cycle World Magazine, Roadrunner, American Iron Magazine. So you can see here, you could pick like one or two from each of these, and then basically double and triple down on the ones that are doing the best. Now, if we take another example, let's just take the dog niche. So same concept, right? So there's dog brands, there's BarkBox, Hills Pet Nutrition, Petco, Petland, PetSmart. And by the way, all these interests on here, they all can be targeted on Meta, okay? And then basically you got general dog interests, you got dog food, dog park, dog toy, dog training, dog walking, pet adoption. So just general dog interests. There's a ton of them. There's way more of these. And then you got breeds, right? Kind of similar to like the motorcycle models. You got breeds. Say for instance, in the plant niche, like there's different types of plants, right? So you want to start with those. And you got all these different breeds, right? Golden Retriever, German Shepherd, Rottweiler. And also for this too, what I recommend if you're in the dog niche or etc. is you want to kind of see what your customers like, what kind of dogs they own. Is it like much more smaller breeds in general? Is it more the Chihuahuas, the Dachshunds, all that kind of stuff? Or is it the larger breeds like the Rottweilers, the German Shepherds, etc.? And then kind of just focus on those, right? So if it's just everything, then obviously you want to kind of split test them and see. But if it just generally speaking ends up being like the smaller breeds, then just focus on those, right? But if it's like bigger dogs or medium to larger breeds, then you'd go with that for that one. Another thing you could do too that we found worked really well is just other top interests flex with the niche, right? So, we did like engaged in dogs and married in dogs. We found for, this brand, the like the bread and butter sweet spot for the age category is around like 30 to 50. So, at that point, you're probably a lot of people are going to be married, right? And then another one too we found is, which is kind of a random one, but it works really well, is targeting like hockey, like ice hockey and National Hockey League, and then flex it with dogs. Because at the end of the day, hockey people, they have money to put your kid in hockey. You got to have money. You got to have money to spend, right? So we actually found that this worked really well. So that's something you can think about for your niche. Like, you can even do like ice hockey and motorcycles, right? It's kind of just completely random. But if you see that, like when you study your customers, that they couple of them seem to be like share this other like kind of interest, for example hockey, then you might want to test that out and then flex it with your niche. Like it obviously wouldn't make sense just to target this and not flex it with dogs. Like we'd do this basically, we'd flex it with dogs, right? So they have to like ice hockey and they have to like dogs, and this worked incredibly well, like really, really profitable. And then we could take it a step further. If they like if they like it, then you can go Vancouver Canucks, flex with dogs. All right, so you could grab a hockey team. You can basically, I did not spell that right. Canucks, flex with dogs. So you can grab like a hockey team and flex with dogs, etc., etc., right? Yeah, then you also have big brands, flex with dogs. So for this one too, we did like Amazon.com, flex with dogs, Costco. That ended up being a really, really good one. Home Depot. You're going to be like kind of a person, generally speaking, a little bit older, 30, 40s, 50s, 60s, and be willing to spend money, essentially. And then last one here is like dog influencers. So we did Caesar Milan. So you can see all these different categories that we basically start off with in terms of the interests, in terms of cold traffic. So that's basically what you want to do for that. And then you can basically scale up and then just start testing out these different categories that are doing really, really well, right? And then lookalikes. What we found, honestly, right now, the best lookalike we're finding is literally just taking our Instagram engagers. So everyone is engaged with the Instagram page in the last 365 days, making a 1% lookalike based off that. And that's just been our best audience so far. And then you could also test out like add to cart, 1%, and also your purchase on 1%. And if those are doing really well, then you can jump up and start doing the higher percentages as well. So, but right now, this is really, this is really our best audience in terms of a lookalike. We find it performs really well. And in terms of the retargeting, so that would be for the cold traffic. And then in terms of retargeting, so what we want to do is we want to do warm. We categorize it out. Everyone has been to the Facebook or Instagram page. As soon as they've even just stepped foot onto one of those pages, like they're just already engaged, or they don't even have to like, comment, anything. As soon as they've been on the Instagram page or Facebook page, they're already engagers. So we're going to be retargeting them. And then also hot. And then basically the way we do it is we do a CBO, right? So a campaign budget optimization campaign. And so we basically just set the budget at a campaign level and then let it choose which ad sets it wants to show it to. So we'll do view content, 180 days, visitors by time spent, top 25%, 180 days, add to cart, initiate checkout. So basically anyone who's been in the website, but we categorize it out and then just let it just pick the budget. We split tested all these different things and we found that this exact structure just ends up being the most profitable time and time again. Sometimes what we'll do is we'll stack it all together if the audience is like really, really small. But generally speaking, we find that this works really, really well. And then generally speaking for hot, what you want to do is a couple of different things. So in terms of the ads, so you got to really kind of think of why people haven't actually checked out. And it's going to be either just they forgot. So a reminder ad could do really well. It could be that, they just don't trust the brand well enough. So like a review ad could do really well. Or it could be that, maybe the product's a little bit too expensive. So like a discount ad can do really, really well. So you want to kind of split test those different ads and see what performs really well. And same with ad formats as well too. And you can see here, this is exactly how we're doing this on the account. So we have the cold, warm, and hot. Grad test was basically grabbing another set of ads with the best audiences in a new campaign. So we basically made 2 cold campaigns here. And then you can see here how it's like performing. So every single campaign is doing really well. And what you'll find, generally speaking, is the warm and the hot will be more profitable. So you can see here, the warm is at a 6.88x return ad spend, and then the hot, because everyone's already been to the website, they're aware of the brand, is at an 8.97x month to date for the brand here in December. So really, really good. And then the cold is very similar to this setup here, just very like nice and targeted, niche and targeted. And you'll see you can get like results like that for that there. And then basically speaking, if you have multiple countries, we're only doing the US right now for this. What you want to do is like basically set up another structure like this where you're doing, let's just say you're in, let's say you're doing US, and then over here, you can do Canada as an example, right? So you'd have another setup like this, just dedicated for Canada, and then another one just for US, and keep it all separated, and that way you can see which one's doing well and kind of keep track of it really nice and organized, and kind of go like that. So yeah, that basically includes it. That's basically how we kind of set things up, across the, different countries, and how we structure it to basically get results like this across all the accounts. So hopefully that was really helpful. And if there's any questions, drop them down below. I'll get back to you when I can. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.